Photek is one of the working names for electronic musician Rupert Parks, who originated in Ipswich in England but is now operating out of LA. He has recorded several albums, 5 in fact. The first was released in 1997. He's also done several TV and film soundtracks and remix work, including for Moby and Bob Marley. Hi, my name's Dan. So this was the first album released under the name Photek. He'd done shorter releases than that before that. And it's my first encounter with him and his music. And this is described quite squarely by the sources that I can see as drum and bass. And having looked at what drum and bass is, I completely agree with that description. So it's fast and complex breakbeat stuff kind of put together, the drum stuff then surrounded by synth and sample sounds and loops and other things like that. It's entirely instrumental, and there's all sorts of different things going on here in the music. So one thing that I want to draw out, there's a point where I noticed it was the same drum beat for a bar pattern, but it was repeated 4 times in a row, and each one of those 4 times it was processed differently with the studio effects. And so it went 1 process, 2 process, 3 process, 4 process, and then back 1 process, 2, kind of rolling over on that. There's a lot of complex rhythms going on here. There's often some odd time signatures, so it's not all in 4/4 or 8/8 or whatever, where the common ones are. And there are some times when there's, I can never remember whether it's polyrhythms or polymeters, is where there's overlapping rhythmic patterns that are of different lengths, so they go in different phases with each other. There's lots of other stuff going on as well. There's kind of big sweepy sounds, there's deep bass stuff, there's glitchy stuff, there's all sorts of different textures going on here. And of course, because it's this sort of stuff, there's lots of repetition. So I'm going to introduce what I call the binary rule of changes. I've just invented this term, which is for electronic music of this type, which is that they make changes, but they're always on numbers of bars after a power of 2. So after, usually not 2 bars, but 4 bars or 8 bars or 16 bars or 32 bars or etc. 64, and spreading them out. And there's changes going on, at various points. So almost every 4-bar section would have some change coming after it. And this is a style of doing things that harks back to minimalism in the, I might be wrong if I say the early 60s in contemporary classical, but maybe I'm right, I don't know. I have to confess that I've only listened to this album once. It's a fairly long album. I didn't not listen the second time because I didn't like it. I just felt like I'd got a really good listen in the first time and really, a really good feel for what the album is. And I do occasionally, almost always I listen twice, but I do occasionally, if I feel like I've got a really good handle on an album, or I know the album really well already, or it's like a really long compilation album, like several hours, I might not listen more than once to something like that. What else am I going to say? Yeah, I was going to say it sounds like a soundtrack for an experimental 90s German film or something like that. I quite like it. It may be that it's a bit limited in appeal for some people. It's certainly not. It kind of has the style of dance music, but isn't really dancey. It's just too complex for that. There's a good variety between tracks. But I realise that I'm kind of into this, certainly the British electronica stuff. Maybe a bit later than this is the stuff that I really get into, but this definitely kind of appealed to me quite well. So that's what I think. Please, as always, I'd love to know what you think. So please do talk to me through the comments box. And that's it from me for now.